I'm recording this from the floor of my closet to say that I'm about to see the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie 5 nights in a row. So when the first Five Nights at Freddy's movie came out, I did this same thing. I went and I saw the film 5 times in theaters, a bonus 6th viewing at my apartment, and I recorded all that, and I had all of it together, and I got this poster and framed it, but I never uploaded the video because I was lazy. So here I am now, ready to see the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie, 5 nights in a row, and this time actually upload a video. If this is anything like the first video, this is going to be one of the worst experiences of my entire life. I have always cared about the Five Nights at Freddy's series. I haven't necessarily always loved it, but I have always cared. Since day one of the series, really. I've watched all the Markiplier videos, all the MatPat videos. I care. I'm here to see this. I'm gonna see the movie, no matter how bad it is. Not because I like the franchise, but because I care about it. Being a Five Nights at Freddy's fan and being a Falcons fan are sort of like the same thing. I don't like it because it's good. I've just kind of always cared about it, so I have to keep caring about it and experiencing it, no matter how miserable it is, all the time. If you clicked on this video, you probably know what Five Nights at Freddy's is. It's a video game horror franchise based around creepy animatronics that do get a bit quirky at night. And they made a movie 2 years ago, which I, as mentioned before, did this for and didn't even make a video for. So that was for nothing. I hope this can be for something. Without further ado, let's go see Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the movie, Night 1.
Okay, so the first night is never usually that bad in any of the games, so I'll play through.
We're out for Night 1. Elle's driving me for FNAF 2. We just got out of the theater for FNAF 2 Night 1. Oh no. Oh no. I have really bad news for how the next 4 days are about to go. The movie is not good. It might even be bad. But let's just get it over with. Let's go to Night 2. Keep an open mind. Maybe it'll get better on rewatch. So without further ado, here is Night 2 at Five Nights at Freddy's 2.
Was that the bite of 87?
My way to Night 2. Elle's driving me. She's not going to this one.
There weren't enough seats.
Just got done with Night 2. I enjoyed it more this time. My whole theater clapped when Freddy came back and killed Toy Freddy. I don't want to be entirely negative in talking about this movie, because there are some things I like. Firstly, it's really cute that Matthew Lillard and Skeet Ulrich are reunited from their roles in Scream, now as William Afton and Henry Emily. I also like a lot of the design elements of this movie. I like how they made the FNAF 2 office look like the game. I like how the toy animatronics look. They look pretty one-to-one with the games. I like how the puppet looks, the same thing. I really like how the withered animatronics, or the prototype animatronics, look in this movie. Those, very much so, look and evoke the same kind of look and feel of the ones from the games. We are now leaving for Night 3. I don't worry about this one. The second viewing was easier than the first one because I knew what was going to happen, and so I could kind of like pace myself with the movie and get excited about the moments that were fun and kind of tap out during the parts that were more boring. But this time, I worry that I'm going to kind of get in a rut where I know what's going to happen, and I'm just knowing the scenes as they go. So, without further ado, Night 3.
What's 9 plus 10 plus 10 plus 9 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 9?
Was that 87?
Leaving night 3. Feeling kind of like I did last night, but glad that I'm 60% done. Not glad that I have 40% to go. I would say I think the first 30 minutes of the movie are fine. I like the flashback scene with Charlotte's murder. I like all the setup with Mike and Vanessa, how they're struggling, how Mike's adjusting to life, how Vanessa's dealing with her trauma, and even Abby's setup with her frustrations at school, with robotics class, and her comically evil teacher, Mr. Berg. Okay, so I've said all of my pros. Now let's spend the rest of this video talking about my cons. Pretty much everything that happens in this movie is kind of dumb. As the movie goes on, it feels like more stupid plot points and dumb dialogue and poorly delivered lines just get stacked on top of each other over and over until the movie eventually ends at a seemingly random point that when I watched it in theaters, I genuinely thought it was a fake ending. But before I just complain more and more, let's go see it for a fourth time. Again, maybe it'll change my mind. Maybe I didn't see something the first 3 times that radically reshapes my whole understanding of the movie.
Equal love.
Night 4.
I've been expecting you. Come, we have much to discuss.
Night 4 done! Now that I have addressed my broad feelings about the movie, let's get into some specific problems with it. The first movie has a very fun, kind of standard horror antagonist. There's a crazy serial killer who murders children. William Afton is the iconic villain of the series. It made sense to put him in the first movie. He's fun. It works. Matthew Lillard's great. He does a great job. I'm not trying to say the first movie had a peak antagonist. The first movie was also kind of bad. But this movie, instead of having a standard, fun, over-the-top antagonist, has a mostly dumb and confusing antagonist. So, this movie begins in 1982. We see a girl who's a bit of a social outcast. Her name is Charlotte at a Freddy's pizzeria. It's a different location than the one we saw in the first movie. It's the original location that the other location was a franchise spun off from. Charlotte is a bit of a loser at this birthday party. She sees a kid being lured into the back room by the man in the yellow rabbit suit, William Afton. She goes to stop it. She tries to tell people, hey, he's trying to murder someone. All the parents don't listen to her. They ignore her. They're all, oh, sorry, the adults are talking, whatever. And so she follows William Afton to the back room. He kills her. Her body falls into the arms of the puppet, the marionette, whom she goes on to possess. Where we next pick up with Charlotte is where a gang called the Spectral Scoopers, who are sort of like a ghost hunting crew with a TV show, go to the original Freddy's location. There, they meet Michael, who we find out later is Michael Afton. He is the security guard at this location, and he shows them around. But, unbeknownst to them, he lures them into being killed by the animatronics at the pizzeria, including Mangle, these little puppet plushies, and the puppet herself. Charlotte kills McKenna Grace's character, and then will go on to possess her. And all of this so far is kind of fine. I don't have a problem with that part of the movie. I mean, it's a little silly that we now have a dead kid possessing a marionette, possessing a different 19-year-old girl. It's just weird, like these layers of possessing that are going on, and it gets weirder later. But the puppet has killed McKenna Grace's character and is sort of piloting her body. In order to, we find out the puppet's goal is to get out of the pizzeria. Okay, makes sense. Why does she want to get out of the pizzeria? Vanessa, who was Charlotte's childhood friend in the 80s, and was at the pizzeria with her, who is also Michael Afton's daughter, so they have the connection of they're both daughters, the business partners of the pizzeria, whatever. Vanessa says that Charlotte wants to get out because she blames every parent for her death because they wouldn't pay attention to her when she was asking for help when she saw the boy getting lured into the back room. Yes, she blames every parent ever. That's her motivation. She wants to get out so she can kill parents, just broadly. Not William, who killed her. She doesn't know William's dead. I get she wouldn't know William's dead in the first movie, even though at the end of this movie we find out he's not dead. She wants to kill all parents. That's so stupid. One might ask, well, if the marionette wants to leave the pizzeria and rack up as many kills on parents as possible, why hasn't she done that? This movie takes place in 2002, 20 years after the events of Charlotte's death at that Freddy's location. Why hasn't the marionette left? Well, the movie establishes kind of three major reasons for why the marionette hasn't left and killed parents. Firstly, it's established by Vanessa kind of offhandedly that the marionette seems to need a vessel to inhabit in order to move, like the puppet can't move on its own. So that's why the puppet possesses McKenna Grace's character when they come to the pizzeria towards the beginning of the movie. Secondly, there is a music box that lulls the marionette to sleep and calms it down. This has been playing in the pizzeria, kept on, assumedly by whoever the night guard is there, like how it works in the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 game. This would be Michael Afton rewinding this music box that keeps the puppet asleep. Why does that work? Well, Charlotte, before she was killed, obviously, her dad had a music box that he made for her that he used to put her to sleep. Henry tells this to Michael when they meet up later in the movie. Thirdly, and this is the one that honestly frustrates me the most, there is a perimeter lock on the building for all the animatronics, including the marionette. The way that Vanessa says this works is that this is set in place so that they can't leave the building. When the animatronics leave the building, their power is cut off, and they will immediately shut down upon leaving the premises. I tried to explain why the perimeter lock and the puppet's wireless technology control over the toys is dumb, but then I ranted for 3 minutes straight, so I'm just going to speed up this next part.
First of all, what? How does that work? I don't understand how these robots made for a small-town pizzeria in the 80s have this wireless location technology that detects exactly where they are and if they're within a radius of the pizzeria, and automatically shuts them down. Also, wouldn't they just die pretty quickly without being connected to power? While they're in the pizzeria, they only perform pretty short shows on stage before they assumedly have to go backstage to charge or get repairs or refurbishments or whatever. So it's not like they'd be able to walk around for a long amount of time outside the pizzeria. And if the response to that is, well, now they're possessed by kids who can then give them energy. The movie shows that that's not how it works, because when the ghost kids come back at the final battle in this movie, yes, the ghost kids from the first movie, who possess the original animatronics that you know and love from the first game, they come back and they fight the toy animatronics, and they start to shut down and power down because they've been gone from the pizzeria, even though the ghosts possess them. Also, in this movie, there's only one ghost in this pizzeria, the marionette, and she's wirelessly controlling because she can also wirelessly control the other animatronics in the 80s, and they just offhandedly are like, yep, technology was so ahead of its time. Okay, fine, whatever. The puppet can wirelessly control the toy animatronics, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Mangle. And she wants to be able to get out with breaking this perimeter lock, but she doesn't have a password. So Vanessa has to come in and type in the password. But Vanessa doesn't do it because the puppet possessing McKenna Grace's character kidnaps Vanessa and makes Vanessa read the code to the puppet. So the puppet tells Chica, who can then tell Abby, who the toy animatronics have lured to the pizzeria, can tell her the code, she types in the computer so that Abby can take Toy Chica with her to do a science project at school. And the point of that rant was to say that it's dumb, and the perimeter lock thing in this movie predicated off of just an offhanded, like, yep, they have advanced technology that allows them to remotely disconnect these animatronics with seemingly infinite power supply otherwise from their power source. And so this is why the puppet needs to lure Abby to the pizzeria and then get Vanessa to give her the password. I don't know why Vanessa has the password to this computer at a pizzeria from 20 years ago. I guess Vanessa was the night guard there at one point, but I don't think they ever explicitly say that. Michael Afton is the night guard there now. Why didn't Charlotte get the code from Michael Afton, who has been at the pizzeria this whole time? Oh, man. Like, okay, hold on. Just give me a second. Okay. So she gets the code, and they break the perimeter lock, and they can leave.
All right, for all three of you left watching after that Alvin and the Chipmunks rant about technology from the 80s in a fictional movie based off a video game, let's just go to night 5 and honestly get this over with. Night 5. Well, as you can tell, it's 1:15 p.m., so don't tell me it doesn't count as a night, though, because I'm here. So, night 5.
Oh my god! Oh, I did it! Ah! I did it!
It is finished.
As anxious as I was to complete this challenge, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Honestly, the worst that I felt was after I saw it on night 1 and knew how bad the movie was. As much as I've ranted about Charlotte and will rant about Michael Afton, you'll notice that neither of them are the main characters of this movie, those being Mike, Vanessa, and Abby, whom I haven't talked about very much. The reason for that is twofold. One, I don't really care about either Mike Schmidt or Vanessa in the game lore, and Abby is entirely made up for the movies. But also, they're just not very interesting characters. You can really summarize their characters pretty quickly. Mike is protective of his sister, and he likes Vanessa. Vanessa is traumatized by her serial killer dad, and she's bad at relationships because of that. Abby is a kid who wants to hang out with dead kids possessing animatronics. That's it. Those are their characters. Honestly, my favorite character in these movies, besides obviously Doug the lawyer who cameos in this film when he tells a family attacked by a toy Freddy, "You look like you'll be needing a good lawyer." Besides Doug, my favorite character is easily Mr. Berg, who I find funnier and more interesting than anyone else in this movie, because he's a robotics teacher played by Wayne Knight, whom I only know from Space Jam, who is so comically evil that he intentionally sabotages Abby's projects because he thinks she's bad at robotics and will bring dishonor upon the school. He genuinely has more fleshed out motivations than either of the villains in this movie. Speaking of villains, let's talk about Michael Afton in this movie. Yeah, Michael's really dumb in this movie. He appears in this movie for 2 scenes. The scene with the spectral scoopers and the Avengers Endgame-esque final battle of this film. In the games, Michael Afton is probably the fan favorite character, besides like any of the animatronics, I guess, as he's one of the more good guy figures in the lore that fans have established. Probably, and also sometimes when his insides aren't scooped out and he's possessed by an animatronic that pilots his body like a mech. Yes, this is real. If you don't know the FNAF lore, those are all real things that happen. But in the games, he begins as a good guy, and that's the Michael Afton fans want to see, is this Michael trying to undo the sins of his father. But what we see in this movie is a Michael who says, "I'm here to carry on my father's legacy." The exact opposite thing people like about the character and are interested in seeing. I shouldn't get mad about this, but this movie makes me a little mad for a couple more reasons I'll mention. As much as I've ranted about the character issues and kind of plot hole things, this movie isn't bad for those kind of nitpicky reasons. It's just badly written. The dialogue's not great. Most of the performances feel a little iffy. Josh Hutcherson's probably the best of the bunch, but no one in this movie really feels like they're giving it their all for their lines. A lot of it does feel a little bit phoned in, to be honest. Lastly, I have to mention the very, polarizing feedback this movie has gotten between audience and critic scores that range from a 90 with the audience and an 11 with critics. As you can tell from this video, I'm definitely in the camp that this movie kind of sucks. It's a 4 out of 10, maybe a 3 if I'm being more honest. What has really frustrated me is seeing people online defend this movie. People who are die-hard Five Nights at Freddy's fans who have been with the series from the beginning, and their profile picture is probably their own drawing of a Five Nights at Freddy's original character they made. These people defending this saying, it's made for the fans of the lore and the games who've been here, and not for the critics. I think that's a really dumb defense. A movie can be made for the fans and also be good. There are plenty of franchises that have had good film adaptations that are also great movies. You don't have to pick one or the other. I also don't think that this movie is even a great thing for the fans. I think it lacks in a lot of references. It's not entirely accurate to the game lore. It's not an accurate representation of a lot of the characters from the games. They make up and add stuff and change stuff. That doesn't feel like a worthy adaptation of the games. The movies also aren't scary. And I know people forgot this along the way, but this was supposed to be a horror franchise. And this movie's not scary. So, anyways, this movie's bad. It's pretty bad. I don't think anyone's gonna go out and say that this is some well-made masterpiece of a film, but they might praise it for the thing I previously just referenced and yelled about. But I do want to say, I do appreciate these movies. They do try to represent the games and give the fans what they want, in quotes, in a lot of ways. As much as I think they fail at that, they do try. They're clearly made by people who care. I think the animatronics designs in these movies alone are praiseworthy. I think they look incredible. Genuinely some of my favorite visual effects and prop design I've ever seen in a movie is in a movie that I think is horrible. So, there are diamonds even in the rough of this movie. I also want to make sure that I say I don't think anyone should go hate or pan anyone who worked on these movies. Clearly, the people who all work on this care, and you can see it in interviews. A lot of people who are here care about Five Nights at Freddy's, and I appreciate that happening. I just don't think it's a good movie, and that's not personal. Good for you if you worked on this movie. I wish this franchise the best, honestly. I hope they make 1 million more movies. I hope they all make a $1 billion. And, of course, I am also going to go do this again when they make Five Nights at Freddy's 3.